Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sit Down presented by Visa. Chats with all of our Canadian stars, and today in the chair is Jade Rose of the women's national team. And I don't expect to get an exclusive announcement about where she'll be playing professional football, but I'm excited for this conversation nevertheless. Jade, it's interesting, right? Because we talk to center backs, we talk to strikers, we talk to goalkeepers, and generally there are themes about defending for defenders, scoring for strikers, but for you, it's scoring as a center back. Your first one for Canada. Your reaction was incredible. Vanessa had both of her arms in the air celebrating as she watched you run it in the net. What was that experience like to get one at home?
Well, I've actually never scored for the national team at the women's level or in the youth program, so it was a very special moment. Um, I think it meant a lot to be able to do it on home soil. I think also to have my mom in the stands. I said in a previous interview, it was also my sister's birthday, so just a lot of excitement that day, and to be able to do it in front of a home crowd made it that much more special.
Well, that is always a pretty remarkable feeling, I have to imagine, with family and friends in attendance. And while I was a little bit nervous at the amount of roses I saw on the roster and was worried if the three of you got on the pitch together, what that would do to me in the commentary booth, I welcome the challenge someday. But let's talk about it. Nyah comes in, and Casey was singing her praises. She played marvelously. Obviously, a young player still finding her footing, but showing that she can hang at this level. To have both of you on the pitch and share that moment on Canadian soil with mom in the stand, just maybe a little more on that, about what it was like to have her there, and the before the match, after the match, just that special day it must have been.
Well, it's funny you ask because my mom actually surprised my sister for her birthday. Originally, my mom didn't intend to come to camp. Um, but then when my sister got the late call in, she was, texting me and was like, "Oh, it's her birthday during camp. Like, should I make the trip out?" And I was like, I think that she would really appreciate it. And so I think it was maybe 4 days before the game, my mom booked a flight and made the decision to come watch the game. And then, even on match day, I was trying to figure it, like, it was hard because I had to keep lying to her because she was like, mom had turned off her location and she hasn't wished me happy birthday. Like, what's going on? And so it was definitely hard to keep it from her. But then when we were running out to warm up, I just run up beside and whispered in her ear to look for mom behind home bench. And then, just to see her face light up. And I think that it brought her to tears. So it was definitely a really exciting day. Because my mom was, surprising my sister, but to also be on the roster with my sister. Last camp we weren't able to do that, and to, I don't know, just to take a step back and to think about us going to the park together and just kicking around a ball and playing on the same team in the NDC program and growing up, and to now be here on the largest stage. It's incredible to kind of take that step back and to reflect upon. And I'm just so proud of how far she's come, and to be here in this environment with her and to see how much potential she has to be a massive part of this team in the future. It's honestly, words can't describe the feeling to be able to share, to have this moment for myself, but also to be able to share that moment with my sister and for her to have her own incredible moments.
Yeah, if I had one complaint from the match at BC Place, is just how close Nyah got to scoring. And if both of you scored your first goal in the same game, would have been like sports story of the year, done and dusted. We can
Yeah.
move on and not even think about that. But I'm fascinated to know what it's like for you watching, because you've watched her grow up and play. You've watched her take all these steps now at playing NCAA in Texas. But there were a few times we cut to you on the bench after you were subbed out, and Nyah's on the pitch and playing so well. How do you watch her, even as a teammate? Are you like, if someone comes up and has a late challenge, you're taking a number for the next match? Are you screaming? Are you all critical of her? Like, what's that dynamic like?
I think that, I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. I think that I think because we've played on the same team growing up, I'm like a little used to it. And so in these environments, I tend to just look at her as a teammate. If someone did take a cheap shot at her, I think that there would definitely be this little, you know, big sister aspect of me that would, maybe write their number down for the next game. I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily the most mature thing to do, but
Mhm.
Um, there is definitely that big sister part of me. I think even in practice, like she's a striker, I'm a center back, and so we tend to go at it in training a little bit, hit her a little bit harder here and there, and she dishes it back to me. So it's definitely an interesting dynamic, but I think that for the most part, I definitely view her as a teammate when we're in practice and meetings and games. Um, and then afterwards, I can have my proud big sister moments.
With this changing of the head coach, changing of the guard with the veterans that have retired and the new players coming in, like your little sister, you're almost a seasoned veteran already somehow, even though you're just wrapping up the college game. As we get to the start of this new quadrennial, Jade, excuse me, and you see yourself growing into that role and getting more confidence with every game. I think someone pointed out that the last person to score at BC Place or score in Canada wearing number 12 was Christine Sinclair, and you happen to be wearing that number now and are now one of those day in, day out players. How have you viewed your evolution? Because you're still at the starting line, but you've been around for a little bit and are much more comfortable, I presume, than when you were in Nyah's shoes. How do you reflect on that journey so far and what's to come?
I mean, I think that it's definitely been a journey to say the least. I think that I I took, some might say, like the traditional route through the youth program and worked my way up to the women's team, and even like looking back on the World Cup, like have definitely dealt with some injuries along the way. And I think that every single time I've been in camp, every injury I've gotten, it's taught me something. I think that there's something to learn from each and every moment. And I think that for me, my biggest point of reflection is just learning from each and every day and taking every opportunity in stride. I don't think I look at myself as a seasoned veteran. I definitely feel like there's so much growth for me within this team and within this program. Like you said, I'm only finishing college, and I still have a whole career ahead of me. And so I think that there's still so much for me to learn from my teammates, from the pro environment, and yeah, I'm just really excited to take the next step and to absorb as much as I can.
I know better than to ask too much about the next step, but I am curious about the process here, because you go 4 years. I'm a Harvard Crimson, and this is my day. This I am a Harvard Crimson for 4 years, and you can be singularly focused on your schooling and your school team and national team. But as you've sort of finished that NCAA playing time and you're moving in towards being a free agent, what has that shift been like as you meet with agents and meet with clubs and think about this next move and go through this, which must feel like one of the most exciting times in your life?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting period. I think that most players tend to do like 3.5 years and to graduate in December. And I definitely think that looking back on things, it would have been a lot easier to have done it that way. I think that right now I'm in a little bit of an awkward period, I might say, or like a little bit of a transition period where I'm ready for the next step, but I still have a semester left of school, and I don't necessarily have, you know, I'm not in season, so I don't have like consistent games and stuff like that. So it's definitely been, um, I wouldn't say a challenge, but it's definitely taken some work to piece together the right training environment and to make sure that I'm hitting all the areas that I need to hit. Um, but I think I definitely have to give kudos to my staff back at Harvard. Like they've done an incredible job supporting me and making sure that I'm setting myself up for these international windows, and also setting myself up for um, my next pro environment. And so it's definitely they've definitely made things a lot easier. It's definitely been a challenge to balance, finishing school and figuring out where I'm going to be next. It's interesting because talking to all my classmates at school, they're all like, "Oh, have you secured a job? Like, have you signed to so and like a company?" And da da da. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be a professional athlete, so like." I have no idea what you guys are talking about, internships and stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out, which agency to sign with and what leagues I want to play in. And so definitely a different route than a lot of the people that I'm surrounded by. But like you said, it's such an incredible period of my life, and it's so exciting to be able to have these opportunities, and also, a time for me to take a step back and to just be incredibly grateful for how far I've come and the opportunities that have presented themselves to me. I think that I'm in a very unique position, and even looking back on the injuries that I've had, I've come a long way, and you know, just extremely thankful for all the people that are in my life and have supported me up until this point. So as much as it's a very exciting time for me, it's also a very exciting time for my family, my friends, my teammates at Harvard, and all my staff that's supported me.
Okay, so I'll make sure we start telling people on the broadcast no asking Jade about her club team until exams are done and convocation scheduled at the very least.
Yes, yes,
Understood.
that is where my
Okay.
head is set for. I'm like, I have to make it through exams and make sure that I graduate before I can even start thinking about that. So, a couple things
Fair
to
enough.
go. We're
We
almost
we
there.
can definitely honor that for you, Jade. Not a problem whatsoever. We only have a few minutes left with you, so I want to get to where the national team is right now. You as a team have only played 4 matches under Casey Stoney, of course, the injury that you're recovering from as well. So it's always tough to ask this question, but we kind of have to ask it anyways because it is such a stylistic difference. The personality of the manager is different,
Mhm.
and you talk about learning all the time. A new coach, that's obviously where you are all at mentally right now. But in these first few interactions and matches, what have you found about the style of play, the type of manager? We hear from a lot of your teammates that Casey Stoney's a player's manager, a player's coach. The experience she has at the international level obviously helps her there. But as you look at from a personal perspective and a team perspective, how has that transition been?
I think that the transition has been relatively seamless. I think that we've gone through a lot of staff changes, not only within the head coach role, but beyond that. And I think that this team adapts well to change and adapts well to our world turning on its head, for a lack of a better explanation. I think that, like you touched on, that our style of play has changed slightly. I think that we're integrating more formations. We're also trying to increase the depth of the team. I think that there's a lot for us to achieve in this next year. Um, but we're ready. We're ready to take it on. We're ready to take on everything that Casey's thrown at us. And I think that's what's most exciting. Looking towards the future is that we're so eager to, change, like flip over the page and to move forward. And I think that that's what this team has shown in the past couple of games that we played under Casey. Um, we're trying to be a lot more of an aggressive team, and I think that that plays a lot to the strengths of the players that we have. Um, and so, yeah, I think that we've done well so far. I think that there's definitely a lot for us to do in the next year and a lot of strides for us to make. But I think that so far we've done really well and shown really well, and just have to keep this momentum going for the next year and past that.
When you consider who you are playing with in the back line, which has been very decidedly a four and appears to be a four moving forward, you must feel privileged and blessed in a lot of ways to work under Shalina and Kadisha and Vanessa as you get to take those strides into being a professional. But I want to ask specifically about Vanessa just because she's coming off that Player of the Year award for Canada Soccer and she was honored at BC Place and all these things that sort of go into it for her. Just as the two of you continue to sort of move into those more veteran roles over the years, what sort of things have you learned from Vanessa? I'm sure it's a long list from the three of them,
Yeah.
but her in particular, because she's in a pretty special moment right now.
I mean, she's a ball magnet. I mean, I don't really know how else to explain it, whether it's offensively or defensively. Somehow the ball is always, veering towards her and naturally towards her head. um, but I think beyond that Vanessa has definitely, pushed me to become more of a leader, to become, someone who's constantly communicating on the field. And she holds me to an extremely high standard, which I'm incredibly grateful for. She pushes me to, bridge that 1% gap and to be 1% better every single day. Um, and so I think that she's helped me grow so much in the past, little bit. And I think that even looking at how our games may differ, that I can lean on her and pick up little bits and pieces, especially, in from an aerial standpoint and, defending the box. I think that that's something that we all know Vanessa is incredibly great at. And is something that I am and looking forward looking to add to my game, and is something that she helps me a lot with in practice. And so yeah, she pushes me every single day. She pushes everybody on the field each and every day, and incredibly grateful to have that partnership with her.
Well, Jade, we're incredibly grateful for your time today. Congratulations again on the goal, on Nyah's birthday present at BC Place, and we look forward to seeing you in just about, what is it now, 24, 36 hours, Argentina again, right here on One Soccer. This has been The Sit Down presented by Visa. Jade Rose, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.